Okay, well, see if you can find it because we'll use that reaction at some point again. Let's go over some of these problems that you're going to need to know for your assignments. And then when I get to the graphing section, where I'm going to actually go out there and look at to see what they do. But we're going to have to graph some of them on our paper as well. Let's look at this first section that we're going to do. This first one is on simplify is what it says. That's the direction. That means these are not equations. These are called expressions. Otherwise, I wouldn't use the word simplify. I would use the word solve. So this is n minus 3n. Now, believe it or not, I have a lot of students that miss this problem. And I don't know why they miss it, except that they don't know what to do with that n. It's just sticking there. But if you just have a variable by itself, you can put a number in front of it. What number would I put?
1.
1. There's just one of them there. So 1n minus 3n. You would subtract, but there's more negatives than positives. So your answer would be negative 2n. So be careful on that. I do have a lot of people that miss that one. This one is one that the reason I'm going over these is in the past, these have been problems that people miss. This is called combine like terms on this. In fact, that's what the direction says. You can see that all of these have an X.
Ms. Sullivan, somebody doesn't have theirs muted and it keeps popping up their name or we can't see the notes.
Okay. Who is not muted? Let me see. I'll just mute everybody and I'll take care of it. Maybe they walked away. Okay. I think that did it. Did it? Did that work? Okay.
Yes.
All right. It's hard for me to mute you and then ask you a question. And
y'all can pin her too. If you go to her thing and click pin the dots, you can pin her and she'll stay in the middle. Stay big.
Thank you.
Okay, say that again.
If you press the 3 dots on her video, you can click pin and she won't disappear when she's not talking. It'll stay zoomed in.
Word of advice.
Did everybody get that? Who was that shared that?
Braylon.
Oh, hi, Braylon. Thank you for doing that. I always forget when I'm on Zoom to tell people about that. That'll keep it from switching back and forth when someone talks. All right, so we have 3x minus 15x. If you just do these two together first, it's called binary, then what you've got to do is subtract 3 from 15 gives you the 12x, but it's a negative because 15 is larger, minus 14x. Now you have like signs, so when you combine them, you get negative 26x. So if you have trouble with those, let me know and I'll help you individually. Okay, all of the others that we have are pretty easy except this number 8. This number 8 may give you some trouble because it has fractions. So I want to let you remember how to do fractional problems. This number 8 has a 1/4 in front of a parentheses and a 1/3 in front of a parentheses that we're going to need to distribute across. Now, you may have to come over to the side or on a scratch piece, but 1/4 times 24 is like having the 24 up there in the top, and you can cancel that 4 into the 24 goes 6 times. And 1 times 6 is 6. So that's going to be 6y when I multiply 1/4 times 24y. Then I do 1/4 times 8. So 1/4 times 8, put the 8 up to the top. You can actually put a 1 in the bottom of those if you want to. You can always put a whole number over 1. 4 will go into 8 2 times. 1 times 2 would be 2, so that one's going to be 2. Then we have a negative. Don't forget to take this negative with you when you distribute. Negative 1/3 times negative 9 3 would go into 9 3 times. 1 times 3 is 3, and a negative times a negative will make that a positive. So I have a positive 3y. And then I've got to distribute my negative 1/3 times my negative 9. And again, I can put my 9/1 if it bothers you to just let it hang up there at the top. So 3 would cancel into 9 3 times. The other way some of you know to do it is that you could multiply 1 times 9 is 9, and 3 times 1 is 3, and then reduce 9/3 to 3. You can do it that way if you would rather. But my answer is going to be a positive 3, because a negative times a negative is the positive. And then I have a 13. So before I leave my problem, I have to combine these like terms. 6y and 3y, those both have y's on them. So that will give us 9y when we add them. You're using the sign in front of the number in case you're wondering what the signs are. Then I have a positive 2, a positive 3, and a negative 13. So I have 2 plus 3, which is 5, and 5 from 13 gives me 8, so I have a negative 8. Any questions about that procedure? Okay, give me a thumbs up if you got it. Portia, did you get it? Chantel, Chandra?
I got it. I just don't. I can't. I don't see where you can do a thumbs up.
Okay.
So
I
I
did,
got it.
and I can't see it either, where
It's
the
under
thumbs up is.
reactions. If you can see a name that, mine's along the bottom.
You gotta make sure you move your mouse too. Make sure you move your mouse around the screen so you can see right on side of record the reaction. You don't see that?
It's across the bottom. Mine is. Just keep looking because there are all kinds of hidden stuff on this thing. I'm always learning about something that I didn't know was there. All right, now we're going to move to the college algebra section that all of you have to do. And on the college algebra section, the first thing that you're going to do is have to pair these things. So the problem looks like domain is listed here and range is listed next to it. And they give you a list of numbers or sometimes words. And they draw a diagram with arrows to point to show you how to map it. It's called a mapping is the name of it. And what I would do first is, unless you can just intuitively do this, I would make my ordered pairs just to make sure. I would make this first one 1823, 1317, 417. That's my ordered pairs. Now the question asks, is this a function? So check out your x's. I have an 18, a 13, and a 4. They're all different. So is it a function? Yes. I want to do number 2 with you because number 2 has an answer that is a little bit hard to understand. It has -4, 4, and 8, and it maps to a 2, and they all map to the 2. So my ordered pairs would be -42, 42, 82. So would you say it is a function? Yes. Well, there's 2 choices for it. Yes. You want the one that says, yes, it is a function because each element in the domain corresponds to exactly one element in the range. Now, if you were taking notes, or if you have my notes already printed off, I want you to put a star by this number 2, because the last time I taught this course, I had more than 50% of the people that missed this question on the test. So I want you to star this, and I want you to remember to go back and look at this before you take the test and pick the right choice. And I know what happens. You think it's saying it backwards, but it's not. It starts with saying that the domain corresponds to exactly one element in the range, and that's true. Okay? So be careful on that one. There are some other range and domain problems, some with numbers, some without numbers. Now I'm going to go stop this and go to the graphing, and we're going to do the graphing in the system. So I'm going to get out of this and start to share my screen, and we're going to go into our actual assignment and work on a couple of these graphing problems because they're a little tricky. I'm going to go down to bind because I can do more in my links than I can in yours. Please let me know if it freezes, because it probably will. I think I'm going to go into this one. I'm going to move this. All right, this is the assignment, and you can see that they're checked. Those are the ones that are showing up on your list. Notice all the others, those are listed on your schedule. If you look up schedule, you'll see all the others for the rest of the course down there. These things like this with the little orange square is a quiz. The review for tests are always quizzes, and those count in your scores under quizzes. So that is one that you can't get help on, and you can't get help on the tests. So be sure you get a calculator before we do that first quiz and test, because that's the only thing you can use to help you on those. So let's look at this section 2.2 under functions, and I'm going to preview. You don't have a preview screen like I do. And you can see 1 out of 18 is what you're going to get. And the drop-down menu right there is what will give you all of them. If you look at that, it will give you all the questions, and it'll have an X marked by the one that you missed. Is it frozen?
It's frozen.
Okay. Let me know when it gets unfrozen. Go back.
You're good.
Is it good? Okay, let me try it again. All right, I'm going to go down to preview. And can you see this first is a mapping? This is where I'm telling you probably want to do your ordered pairs and then decide if it's a function or not, unless you can just do it intuitively.
Still don't see anything.
Still frozen.
Is it frozen?
It is.
Let me move further along. Maybe it's just trying to catch up. What does it show on your screen?
The assignment list.
The assignment is not showing the homework itself.
No.
Okay, let me go to another screen and do it.
We can see your mouse moving. It's just not catching up to the same page that you're trying to go to.
It may be to, let me go to a different section that will show the same thing. Let me go to yours and maybe it will. I could have gone to the assignments. This is the same link that over there where it says assignments, is math assignments. Let me see if I can pull it up from here. It may be because it's in the teacher section. Okay, now are you seeing the sections? Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, now when I go to this question, let me go to question, let's see which one I want to go to. Let me go to 7.
There we go.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it's because I'm in the student side and it's not as keen on showing the teacher side. Maybe someone has some kind of stop on it. This is a function. Notice it says f of x, which really means y, equals the absolute value of x minus 3. And it says find each of the indicated function values. And they give you 3 values. This is like your t-chart, and you're putting in 2 for x, 4 for x, and a plus 3 for x in your problem. So I'm going to write this problem down and go out of here and see if I can manage to get back in here at some point. F of x equals the absolute value of x minus 3. They want us to do f of 2, f of 4, and f of a plus 3. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to this screen. Can you see my notes now? Yes? Okay. So what I want to do is just like the plain t-chart that we had before. For the first one, I'm going to put in my 2 for my x, and then I'm just going to work my problem. Remember, that's the same thing as y down that list. So I have the absolute value of 2 minus 3. The absolute value of 2 is 2. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. So in a minute, if I can go back to that same problem, I'll put in negative 1. This one's going to be the absolute value of 4 I'm putting in for x minus 3. The absolute value of 4 is 4. 4 minus 3 is 1. So I have a value of 4, 1. This one you're not going to be able to graph because it has a variable in it. They like to throw these little variables in there with it so that they can see if you're really paying attention. So on this one, the absolute value of a plus 3 minus 3, and there's not anything I can do with that because you don't know what a is. If a happened to be 1, 1 plus 3 is 4, the absolute value of 4 is 4, and 4 minus 3 would be 1. But what if a is negative 2 or negative, let's say it's negative 7. Negative 7. Negative 7 plus 4 is, plus 3 is negative 4. Negative 4 minus 3 is, absolute value of negative 4 is 4. 4 minus 3 is 1. It gives you the same number. But if you put a 0 in there, 0 plus 3 is 3. 3 minus 3 is 0. So it all depends on what this variable is, what your answer is. So what I'm telling you is don't try to do anything with that. Leave this as your answer. Okay? So don't say that it's going to be anything other than that. Don't try to take it out of absolute value, because you can't do it unless you know what the value of A is. So I'm
We
going to,
can't simplify it,
you
right?
can't simplify it because it all depends on what that variable stands for.
Okay.
If it's a negative value, it'll be a different value than it will be if it's a positive value. So you can't do anything with it. So just leave it just like that. Now, let me see if we can figure out how to do this on our screen. See if I can happen to get back to the same problem. And there's this little box here. See this little box? And you're going, well, where are the other boxes? Well, they're not going to appear until you put an answer in there. So I did f of 2 and I got -1. So I'm going to put in my -1 in that spot. Okay. Now then, I have to check my answer down here before it'll give me the next one. So I'm going to check my answer. Good job. Now then, I think I'm done with that problem, but no, it gives me the second one here. So now I'm looking for f of 4. I've already done the problem and I found out that it's 1. So I'm going to put in the 1 and I'm going to check my answer. Okay, now then I've got this one. This one's going to be interesting. I got to figure out how to put this thing in. So I click on this little box and I need to be able to put it in absolute value. Do you see when I clicked on that box how all these other little things came up? So there's a fraction, there's a mixed number, there's all kinds of things down here that we'll be using in this course. An ordered pair. I want this one that says absolute value. So see, when I clicked on that absolute value, it put it in there. So what I'm going to do is my A plus 3 and alpha A plus 3. And now I want to get out of it. So I have to see how it's shaded. I have to get out of it by clicking behind it. And then it'll be uncolored. The color will come off. And now I can put my -3 behind it. And I can check my answer and we'll see if I managed to please them. Sometimes when you do this, they don't like the way you did it and you have to go back and do it again. All right. Are we good? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. On this one, the next one, do you see that it's x cubed? Don't forget that x cubed is the number times itself 3 times. So this would be 0 times 0 times 0. -1 times -1 times -1. 2 times 2 times 2, which is not 6. That's the most missed one I see. 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. And then you're going to have this -2a. -2a times -2a times -2a is going to be -8a cubed. So when you get that one, when you click on your little square, it's going to give you an exponent option down there for you to be able to put in your cube. Somebody needs to try your caret 3 and see if it works. I can't remember if it does work on a caret or not. I think you've got to use their notation. The next one is a Fahrenheit Celsius problem that you just put it in and find out the answer and pick the answer down the list. This is one of the graphs that you have to do. You have to graph the function. I know that this is a line because the x is to the first power and the y over here is to the first power. So this is a line. It's going to cross the y-axis at 5 and it has a slope of -2, but they're asking me to find points. So I'm going to do the line first and then I'm going to do a parabola or an absolute value because these, like we did before, these are a little bit tricky. So I'm going to pick this -2 one and I'm going to try to do it in my head. -2 times -2 is +4. +4 plus 5 would be positive 9. So I'm going to put a 9 in there. 0. Negative 2 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 5 would be 5. So I'm going to put 5 in there. And 2, negative 2 times 2 would be negative 4. Negative 4 plus 5 would be 1. Okay, now once I get that in there, I'm going to check my answers, and then it's going to give me a graph to do. So I'm not finished with the problem until I graph it. So I click the graph to enlarge. Remember the tools, you'll have to select the correct tool. I want a line, and then I'll have this little square thing on my picture, and I'll have to graph these points. Negative 2, 9. Negative 2, 9. Let's see, it looks like it's about right there. But see, if you look over in the corner up at the top on the yellow thing, it will tell you your ordered pair. And then you have to click the right side of your mouse to make the dot. Then do 0, 5. 0 over 5 up, and see how that little thing gets in your way. When you get to 0, 5, click, and you don't have to graph the third point unless you want to. I think it will take it. Let's see, save it, and we'll check it. Yes. Any questions on graphing that line? Okay, let me see. There is one that I wanted to do that was on graphing. Oh, it's number 12. Let me go to 12. Number 12 is a parabola. Do you see how this is squared? I know it's a parabola, but it's not in the form I'm used to seeing it. It usually has little parentheses and plus or minus something out here to let me shift. So on this one, I will have to figure out either from doing it on my calculator first, or I'll have to do it from the ordered pairs and figure out where the parabola is. So let's do the ordered pairs. I'm going to come out of this, and we're going to do it on a piece of paper. And I'm going to show you how to do it on your graph to see where your vertex is, because it's not in the right form that we're used to seeing it, with something added at the end with parentheses. It's shifted off. This is called the standard form that it's in right now. It's wanting me to do -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3 before it's going to let me graph. So I'm going to go out of this and go into my paper, and I'm going to put these points in. So I have -1 squared minus 2 times -1 minus 3. And I have -1 squared is -1 times -1, which is 1. -2 times -1 will make a +2. -3 on the end. So I have 1 plus 2, which is 3, minus 3. So my answer for this is 0. Okay, now you could continue to do this by hand, but I don't want to do that by hand. I want to pick up my calculator and be lazy. So what I'm going to do is pick up my calculator. I'm going to clear out the graph that I had in there before by hitting clear, and I'm going to put this equation in. The x is by the alpha key. X, I've got to square it. Remember, squared's on the side. It says x squared. When I hit that key, it puts a little 2 up there. Minus is the connector minus over here. Remember, if it's negative, it'll be this one down here. If it starts negative at your problem start, then it would be the negative at the bottom. But if it's between two things, it's the connector minus. So I make it 2x, but don't forget to put your alpha x in there, or you won't get this problem right. Minus 3. So double check to make sure that's my equation. and I hit graph. I'm not surprised that it's a parabola because the squared term that's there. What I do need to know is where these points are. And I'd like to know where this vertex is. So if I hit second and graph, remember, it brings up my ordered pairs. Now I'm just not going to take time to do all this work. I'm going to look on here and see what the answers are. And you can do that too. It looks like 0 is -3, 1 is -4, 2 is -3, 3 is 0. So you can see from the picture there that it looks like 1, -4 might be my vertex. But I can figure it out really quick by deciding where it is by calculating the minimum. You don't have to do it this way, and I'm just going to show you how I can do it and prove that that's the bottom point. And you may want to start doing this because we will be doing it later. I hit enter because it's blinking right there. And then I move my little cursor over to the other side and I hit enter. And it's click that side, and now I hit enter again. And it will tell me that my vertex point is 0.99999, which is really 1 and -4. So that's going to be my vertex point. I could have looked at the graph and probably come really close to it just by looking at the graph. So we'll do that about 100 more times. So if you didn't get it that time, you don't have to know it here. You just have to estimate where it is anyway. Question? Yes.
What button did you press on your calculator to pull up the minimum?
It was the second button, and the one that says trace above it says calculate. See that? And when I do second and trace, it brings up the menu above it, which is the calculate menu. And look, it will give me lots of things I'll use in this class. The value, the 0, the minimum, the maximum. We won't use intersections we'll use, but we won't use derivatives in this class. But we'll use those first 4 or 5 on there in the class. So just kind of get used to seeing that menu. And those of you that want to play with it and see if you can make it work, you can. Otherwise, just use the points and graph them that they give you. And they have given you the vertex hidden in there somewhere because they don't want you to know how to do this yet. But we're going to do that a little bit later in the course. But for those of you that are a little bit ahead, you can use that method for finding where the vertex is. Okay, I'm going to go back to my problem. And I'm going to fill in these points that I found. And I just got it off of my calculator, to be truthful. So I have a -1 in the first one. And I think it'll let me do all of them without checking on this particular one. -3. -4, and we decided that was going to be our vertex. That's going to be the very bottom of this. It is going to smile because there's a +1 in front of that x squared. Positive will make it smile. 2, -3, and 3, 0. Now I'm going to check my answer, see if it'll.
First one is supposed to be 0.
It is. And look what it told me. It said at least one of your answers is incorrect. So you just beat them to the draw. But know that if that comes up, double check your work. Thank you for pointing that out. If I could give you an extra point, I would. Who was that caught that? Come on, fess up. Who was that?
Marlisha.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay, now then we're going to graph it. I do know that it's a squared term. That tells me in my mind that it's a parabola. So I'm going to pick the little parabola tool. And I'm going to put those points on there. I'm going to go ahead and put my vertex point since I know that it's really 1, -4. I'm going to start with that one. 1 over 4 down. And see how it gives me that straight line. So it won't be start to curve until you put some more points in there. So I have a 0, -3. Let me see if I can get that one in there. 0, -3. I'm watching my little yellow one up there to see. Let's see what happens if I put in a -1, 0. See how it makes the curve when I start doing that? There it is. And I'm watching that little spot right there where the ordered pair is to see that I get the right ordered pair. Now, once I get my shape, and it takes 3, see it has 3 little dots on this tool. That tells you how many points you have to use. Like there's 2 on this straight tool for the line, and I think this one's got 4. So this cubic curve is going to need 4. Looks like this one's only going to need a couple. So those little dots on that tool will tell you how many you need. Now let's save it and check your answer. And you can see that they said, well done. Okay, the next one is a cubic curve. That one's going to be one of those, you'll have to use the cubic tool to do it. And it's going to shift from 0, 0 down to 7 on that last one. And then you're going to be given all these graphs, and you're going to have to say if it's a function or not. This is where you use the vertical line test and just kind of pretend that you're drawing vertical lines down through it. If when you draw a vertical line, it's only crossing your graph in one place, it is a function. If you have one that looks like this and you drew a vertical line down it, it would cross it in 2 places. So this one is not a function. So there's only about 4 big problems on here that are tough. The rest of them aren't too bad. This one is, if you drew a vertical line, it would touch it in more than one place, so it is not a function. And this one, if you do vertical lines on this one we'll use a little bit later on in the course, and it is a function. Okay, that is the discussion of the problems and the new information that we're going to do tonight if you haven't done it. Some of you have already been in there to try to do these problems. And I need, if you have any questions on how to do them, then you need to let me know, and we'll cover, if there was some major problem, we'll do it for the whole class. If not, and you just have an individual problem, you can go away if you want and have a good weekend and work on your problems, and the rest of you can stay that need help with your problems, and we'll go over those. We got finished a little bit earlier tonight because this material's not as tough as some of the others. So do we have any questions generally from all of you? You can unmute.
So all of those assignments that we were just doing, that's on the lab assignment, is that correct?
It's on the, it's under, you go, let me show you again so that you'll know.
Okay.
Just
Yeah, I want to make sure so I
that
can
you
do
know.
it.
When you go into your, it'll look like this that says start here.
Okay.
Let it switch. It'll look like this when you get in there. Okay, then you can go down through this. Now your syllabus is on this start here. You'll need to look at that syllabus, and you'll have to go do that course agreement that's out in my labs. But your assignments can be listed. This is all of them at one time right here.
Okay.
And you can see all of them at one time. that's there on that start menu. It's an assignment that comes down as a doc. You have to open it. It may freeze when we do that. We'll see. See, it'll have all of your assignments there. Now, this one says 9-1 and 9-2 there. That's an error on this one. 9-1 and 9-2 is actually down here on the third week. But let me show you another place this is located so that right here, My Lab Math All Assignments. If you will click there, that's right under course content. That is where you'll need to go to do your problems.
Okay. That's what I thought I saw because I did the course agreement earlier. I was just making sure that those were the correct assignments.
And if you don't have this course agreement by sometime next week, they'll remove you from the class. So be sure you do that. And you click on the assignment and it will bring up the problems. And you can see, I did a few of them in here, which is why my score is low.
Okay.
A few of them. So you just go back in, and if you get one wrong, it'll put an X, and you can click on that one, and you can redo that problem again. Won't be the same problem. It'll be different numbers, but it'll be the same kind of problem.